And it was a good year. So let's give it up for all of you, everybody. Let's go! Thanks, Tree, for getting that cheer started.
No.
Yeah. Where are we going to be when we don't have you next year, right?
Tree.
Speaking of Tree, and I'd like to speak more to the seniors and we have one senior cheerleader, and we have 21 senior football players. Our seniors were outstanding. A part of a great season, but a part also a great career of a lot of years of success. Our juniors and sophomores and freshmen, I hope you can learn some good things from our seniors. I think they were a good testimony to fight and grit and all those things behind the scenes that it takes. The effort and, again, time that they put in, the extra time, was a great example, and we certainly applaud them. Let's give a hand for our seniors. At this point, I'd like to recognize our 4.0 students. There's a program out in front, and in case you didn't see it, you can come back and grab one on your way out tonight. But I would like just to take this moment to recognize our 4.0 students that are in here. So if your name is on the list, would you please stand at this time? I can read the list if you'd like me to, Mickey. Cameron Best, Alyssa Brock, Colton Byron, Devin Finley, Elizabeth Hubbard, Weston Mars, Chloe Martin, Andrew Miller, Bryson Roberts, Hayden Skinner, Grace Boston, Ethan Wright, Brooklyn Black, Ryan Brown, Allie Cathcart, John Hess, Tate Kuhlman, Wyatt Mars, Roman Medley, Brady Uhl, Sam Schmeezy, Casey Taylor, McKenna Watson.
Yeah!
I read this last week at the point, and I had those people stand up for, not only did they excel in their particular sports, but they excelled and got it done during the season with a 4.0. That's incredible. Of that, and we're going to have other scholar athletes later today in your breakout sessions being honored. You're going to find these out. But this is interesting. 243 athletes participating this fall. Of those 243, 173 scholar athletes, which means 173 people had a 3.25. That's 72% with a GPA of a 3.2 or higher. Of those 73, 4.0 students were 73 students were 4.0 at 42%. That's almost half of our students at 4.0. Let's give them a round of applause. We got some I can read it right. All right. At this point, I'd like to recognize our all-conference. So the coaches will give their awards. At this point, I'd just like those people, when you hear your name, to please stand. Cheerleading. Cheerleaders had a great year, finished third at the MBL. Outstanding performance and their best performance of the year there, and that's fantastic. And we had 5 young ladies that were honored for all conference. Second team, and when you hear your name, please stand. Ray Evans and Maya Evans. Second team, please stand. First team, McKenna Watson, Kamari Evans, and Alyssa Brock. For about 45 seconds to 2 minutes, Braden, Anson, and Sam were first team all cheerleading team today. If you don't get the joke, we tweeted it out today. We had to delete it real quick. Thanks, Tree. Just so you know, Soliday, they wanted me to leave that up for like eternity, but I couldn't do it.
Solid.
So first team, all MBL in the sport of football. Honorable mention, Mickey Anderson and Devin Finley. Second team, Brady Uhl, Kai Warner, Drayshawn Roberts, Jackson Trombley, Colton Booker, and Derek Jones. Drayshawn was also first team in special teams. First team also is Elijah Frazier, Bryson Roberts, Sam Schmeezy, Anson Cox, and Braden Soliday. Not very often does it happen in football, but it happens that we have two this year that are letter winners, 4-year letter winners. And we'd like to take this opportunity for them just to stand and be acknowledged. Quite a feat to be able to do it 3 years, people with 4 years of football is pretty special. 4-year letter winners, Brady Uhl and Jackson Trombley. We had some records this year that, in the last couple of years, that actually were broken and actually even established in particular to kicking. Jackson had an outstanding career here at Piqua, and tonight we would like to acknowledge that he has 6 records that will be in the kicking category here for Piqua High School. Those records are, Jackson has the most touchbacks in a season, and he also has the most extra points in a single season, most extra points in a game, most extra points in a career, and he has the longest punt in school history and the longest field goal in school history. Jackson Trombley. We are very fortunate to have partnerships with great companies in our area that, in businesses that want to recognize our athletes and their performance on and off the field. And we have 3 in particular that were recognized by Scott Steele and WPTW for the Senior Athletes of the Month. These individuals will get a certificate tonight, which I'm sure that they'll be thrilled to get. But the thing that they really enjoy through the years, they enjoy the dinner for 4 at 3 Joe's. And all of these seniors will then have the opportunity to be voted at the end of the year on class senior night. All of will be awarded 1 female scholarship and 1 male scholarship, each for $750 apiece to their school of choice. However, tonight we would like to recognize the September, October, and November Athletes of the Month, who are all football players: Sam Schmeezy, Brady Uhl, and Jackson Trombley. At this point of the program, we are going to direct everyone to their breakout sessions. Cheerleaders, we're going to direct you down to the media room, which is for the parents, the old library, if you just go straight down the hallway. Football, you're going to stay right here. So thank you very much. Oh, before the cheerleaders leave, we got to say it together. Those 3 important words. Tree, I need your help. We are.
I saw him walk out. He got a solo.
Okay, we got everybody settled in. Okay, first of all, we're going to start off tonight with our 9th grade football awards, and our 9th grade had an outstanding season once again this year, and it's important to remember the role of the 9th grade in our program, and that is to develop our players, to make sure our players understand how they're supposed to practice, how they can be coached. It's the first time they really have to commit to almost a year-long program, both at practice, like I said, in the weight room, and really that's their first summer. That's the first summer where they have to come in and say, okay, we're going to be here 4 days a week. We're not just going to come to speed camp. We're not just going to come occasionally, you know, and show up and then not show up, but really make that commitment. And I think our 4 freshman coaches did yet another outstanding job of getting those guys here, getting them into our system, and getting them ready now for the next step of their program. So I'd like to bring up our coaches, Coach Wiseman, Coach Roth, Coach Hawk, and Coach Hall.
All right, good evening, everybody, and thanks for coming out tonight. Like Bill said, we had a great season this year. All right, just reflecting back, to only have 2 losses on the season when you have a small team like we did this year, starting off with 23 guys, ending with only playing with 17 guys at our last game. I mean, that's a hell of a job in my eyes. Numbers issues with this team. We had guys banged up, getting injured here and there. This was like the first year to not have to deal with COVID, thank God. So it was a great season overall. And first off, I want to start by thanking the parents. At the freshman level, the biggest thing is attendance, getting these guys here. And only have 23 guys and try to run a practice and not have to spend all day an individual, you know, is awesome. So having you guys, we got guys that are 14 years old, obviously they can't drive, so you guys getting them there, I want to thank the parents, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, grandma, grandpa, whoever it may be, because so far since I've been here, I'd say this was the best group as far as getting here, showing up, putting in the work day in and day out. So I want to thank you guys. So. Secondly, I want to thank Katie and all of her staff. They help us out tremendously. They put up with the kids in and out, and it just being her over there to handle with that kind of stuff. And then away games, getting us our water, getting us our med kits and our tape. I want to thank you guys so much for everything that you guys did for us this year. All right, now we're going to go right into our scholar athletes. Biggest thing about this with these guys this year, we're saying only having 23 guys, we got 13 scholar athletes on our team. So I want to highlight that right there. To have majority of our guys being scholar athletes is huge. We spend so much time in practice, after practice, working our butts off each and every day, and then to have to come out and get our homework turned in and study for a test and do things like that is huge. So I definitely want to highlight that and give each one of these kids a round of applause right now. Our first scholar athlete is Eli Watkins. Casey Taylor. Cole Lineman. Maddox Kochka. Landon Ivory. John Hess. Ryan Erie. Nolan Erie. Cohen Brown. Luca Brand. Keith Bolden. Cameron Best. Zayden Allen. I want to give each one of them a round of applause one more time. All right, next we're going to go into our certificates and graduation years. And thanks again to Mom's Club. I forgot to say thank you and that whole thing. Thank you guys so much for all the things that you guys do for us, especially off on varsity end. But you guys make up our goodie bags. You guys get us free shirts, and then where's Mrs. Hess? I want to thank her specifically. I think this was the first year she got freshman t-shirts made for us. So that's awesome. Thank you so much. First, we got Salvador Jez. Landon Ivory. A little bit about Landon. He was our defensive lineman, defensive end, specifically H-back this year. Did a heck of a job for us. Shut up every single day of practice, busted his butt. Always one of those guys that was like a sponge, man. He always came up to me after practice, wondering what he could do better to help the team out, help himself out. I feel like that kid right there is going to have a bright future one day. Maddox Kochka. Maddox was one of our offensive linemen, defensive tackles this year. He was another one of those guys that showed up every day, worked his butt off in the weight room, progressed a lot throughout the off-season, coming into the season, and he was one of those guys that was there after practice, get extra snaps, willing to move whatever position you need on the O-line. He played guard, tackle, and center for us this year. Zayden Allen. Zayden played middle linebacker, outside linebacker, and running back for us this year. Zayden was that defensive guy that was just a workhorse. We had a lot of injuries, like I said, this year. He was that guy that was willing to move around wherever we need him in the defense. That's why he jumped from outside linebacker to middle linebacker. He was just one of those versatile guys that could play inside or out. He ran the heck out of the ball for us this year. If we ever need a guy to put his nose down and get us a first down, that was him. Kaysen mainly played defensive line for us this year. He was that guy that came in every single day in practice. He's a super smart guy, super athletic, a humble kid that was always here, always trying to do better, always asking what he could do to get better. Didn't care what position he played on the team. He was just one of those guys that just wanted to be there, be a part of the team, and just be a part of it all. So thank you, Kaysen. Hughes. Kylan played offensive line for us this year. I had Kylan last year on wrestling, so I built a pretty good relationship with him. Sadly for him, he got hurt throughout the season. He was on one of those little scooters rolling around, but it still didn't stop him. He showed up to practice every single day, absorbed all the things that he could, got all the amount of reps that he could. So thank you, Kylan. Now it's on the wrestling. Cameron Best. Cameron also played outside linebacker, middle linebacker, had to jump around a lot this year with injuries, played H-back for us. He was one of those guys that came in every single day as well. Always put in the extra work, stayed after practice, got work no matter what it was. He would do anything that you need him to do. He'd sit there and catch a punt if he had to, even though he didn't have any hands, unless he had his gloves.
Yeah.
But good job this year. Keaton Bolden. Keaton played everywhere as far as defensive back that you can play, and he played wide receiver. He jumped around a lot for us from corner to safety. Obviously because of the injuries, like I've been saying, with every other kid, having only 17 guys by the end of the season. I mean, we just had to jump them around where we could. But Keaton was a great player. He showed up every single day, was one of the leaders on our team, captain on our team, that was always there pushing guys and leading by example. Watkins. So a little bit about Eli. I had him in wrestling. He's never played football a day in his life. He's tried to get his parents to do it. His parents weren't about it. Kept begging him. Finally, he came around. He started. And he played with us this year. Great dude. Always here, working his butt off, just trying to get better. He's a big wrestling guy, so he joined the football team this year to get better for wrestling. He's another one of those guys that just shows up every single day. Anything you ask him to do, he will do it. So thank you to you all. Nolan here. This is perfect because this is also his first year playing football with us. He was another guy that tried out with wrestling. His brother was a wrestler with me last year. Talked him into coming on the football, has a big frame. He came in not knowing nothing about the sport. Asked a bunch of questions, kept asking what he can do, what can he do to get on the field. Big weight room guy, got super strong, so he was just like, man, just get that guy on the line of scrimmage and tell him to go. He was a big fill-in guy for us, so thank you. Ryan was named offensive lineman for us this year. Very quiet dude, but he's a leader when it comes to leading by example. Always comes in, does the right thing, always pushes his teammates in the weight room. As soon as we got him in the right group, he was the leader of that group. He did everything that he could in there. On the O-line, he started for us all year at offensive guard. Did a heck of a job there, so good job. Elijah Subinger. Cohen Brown. Cohen was our quarterback this year, great leader, one of our captains, showed up every single day, was pretty much the voice of our whole entire operation this year. Always pushing guys, works his butt off in the weight room, did a heck of a job this year at quarterback. I know last year he had a QB battle back and forth with Luca, which we ended up having Luca move out to wide receiver this year, and it worked out perfectly for us, so he could help him on that DB side. Them two battled it in and out, and Cohen did a heck of a job for us this year. John Hess. John started off at a safety, but he wouldn't stay out of the weight room, so I had to take him at linebacker. Did a heck of a job this year, being his first year playing linebacker, coming down from that safety position. Worked his butt off in the weight room, got super strong this offseason, grew a little bit. He also came in and had to play a little bit of running back with injuries, did a heck of a job. No matter what we need him to do, he was always there to do it. He was another one of our captains this year. Cole is another one of our middle linebackers, H-back guys. Heck of a kid, very smart, super respectful, always does the right thing, showed up to practice every single day. Was another one of those guys that kept on asking, he was this close, this close. He just needed a little bit more, And then when we got him in at the middle linebacker position, he finally got the grasp of thing, how to read his keys and whatnot. He was a heck of a dude. Ended up starting the last few games for us at that middle linebacker spot and came a long way. I'd say from the beginning of the year to the end of the year, I'd say he was probably most improved. Riley Elam. Riley was another one of our offensive linemen, defensive lineman guys. Mainly played on the O-line, came in a lot on the defensive tackle position when we needed him, just to get a guy a blow, but he mainly played for the offensive position. Very outgoing guy, always trying to crack a joke when he's in the weight room showing up. He's just a great kid all around. Thanks for a great season, Riley. Dominic Nisley, a.k.a. Debo. Debo played wide receiver, started off as the outside linebacker guy, thought he looked a little bit better at the corner position, played starting slot receiver, corner for us this whole entire year. Did a great job. He was one of those workhorse guys. He was always staying after practice. He was one of those guys we couldn't get to leave the stadium. He'd stick around for junior high practices afterwards. In the summertime, he went through all of the camps with the younger guys, helping them guys out. He's just one of those guys that's just addicted to the game, and I think he has a bright future. Good job, man. Luca Brown. Luca played DB and wide receiver for us and helped out a lot on the quarterback position. He was the other quarterback that we had, giving all the reps to our wide receivers. He also helped out when we had a scout team D in there when we needed somebody. He was one of those guys that halfway through the season, he's like, "Coach, I don't care where it is, where can I play? I'm trying to get on the field." He just has that nose for wanting to come out, be there every single day, push himself. Great job, Luke. Tony was a starting offensive lineman, defensive line for us. Big frame guy, always showed up to practice. Might have been a little bit late, but he was always there, doing the right thing, pushing himself day in and day out. Made the biggest difference. If you think about football in a whole, it all starts at the line of scrimmage, and that was a guy that made a difference every single play for us. He's a big frame guy, and he's definitely got a bright future. Good job, Tom. All right, that's it as far as awards. I'm just going to close this up real quick. Thank you so much again for everybody that showed up tonight. Thank you, Moms Club. Thank you, training staff. Thank you to each one of your parents, grandparents, anybody that was involved this year. I appreciate it. Thank you.
I'll get my people to move in here. We all set here. All right, as far as our thank yous go, everybody's hit them all. You know, parents are obviously important to our story. Our medical staff is important to our story, as is our team doctors, Katie and her organization. Moms Club has supplied everybody with a sweatshirt. We have our athletic department, which has supplied everybody with a framed plaque of the people that made all league for us. And obviously we also have our scholar athletes and our individual awards. So I'd like to first of all introduce our JV football team, and we have 18 sophomores and 10 juniors that are going to receive their JV certificate this year. And very quickly, the JV portion of our program is just a hair different than the freshmen, a little hair different than varsity, in the fact that they're in between. And they spend a lot of their time simulating what the other team's going to do during the course of the week. And then they have practices after our practice to try to make sure they know what we're doing. So it's very important, I think, if you remember a lot of people on Saturdays to have a little patience sometimes, because there are times where we have a guy playing guard that normally doesn't play guard, a guy that's playing tackle that normally hasn't played tackle. tackle because someone gets hurt or we've got this situation or this situation. So it's almost like it started out to be just another practice. That you say, hey, let's get our guys that are not getting a whole lot of work together. We'll come in on Saturday, have a little practice, and then it's turned into kind of like its own team. But we still have to remember what the importance of JV is, and that is just to continue to develop. I appreciate, everything our JVs do. I appreciate the patience that kids don't say, well, I'm too good to play JV. I don't think I need to play JVs. Where they put their time in, they become committed, and as a result, good things happen to them. We don't have JV coaches per se. I know Coach Johnson, Coach Smith travel with the JVs, but in terms of practice, all of us coach the JVs. So it's not like they're off by themselves somewhere. Everybody takes control of it. So as I call people's names off, they're also going to receive, if they're a Scholar Athlete, they'll receive their Scholar Athlete Award. They'll also receive their JV certificate. And then we've got the sweatshirt coming down at that end. Is that right? Okay, introducing our coaches. We've got Travis Neese, who's our secondary coach, and our running back coach. We've got Eric Barger, who coaches offensive line and inside linebackers. We've got Rick Krejci, quarterbacks, snappers, and the other inside linebackers. Coach Johns on the far end over there, he coaches our receivers and also defensive backs. Coach Joe on the back, he coaches our receivers also and is our offensive play caller. And as always, at my side, Big Josh Smith, outside linebackers and H-backs. Four Piqua graduates. All right. Sounds pretty good. Okay, first up on the list, we have JV, offensive line, defensive line. Cade Ball, he'll receive his JV certificate and Scholar Athlete Award. Next we have, he's not here, but I just want to introduce his name. He went home sick today. We have outside linebacker Izzy Coleman. He's also a Scholar Athlete. We're doubling down. We got the other Coleman here. We got outside linebacker Noah Coleman. JV defensive back and Scholar Athlete Justin Hall. Offensive line, defensive line, Scholar Athlete Ben Hulskamp. Offensive line, defensive line, Scholar Athlete, Weston Mars. We got defensive end, Isaiah Martin. We got offensive line, Carson Smith. We've got defensive lineman, but he's not here tonight. He told me he couldn't make it today. He's got another commitment, Cameron Sourmail. Quarterback, defensive back, Caden Thomas. Defensive back, punt return specialist, and Scholar Athlete, Joe Voskel. Offensive line, defensive line, Scholar Athlete, Kenny Ward. Offensive line, defensive line, Scholar Athlete, Chase Weber. Defensive back, punt return specialist, Micah Talley. Inside linebacker, Scholar Athlete, Jerry Anthony. Scholar Athlete, Receiver, defensive back, Malachi Carnahan. And then we've got two guys that are getting their JV certificate and their number. The first one we have is Gabe Payton, defensive end. And secondly, we have running back Jericho Burns. All right, then we have 10 juniors that took part in the JV program this year for us. We have scholar athlete, defensive back, outside linebacker, Garrett Brown. Got offensive line, defensive line, scholar athlete, Jacob Dolph Phelps. Receiver, outside linebacker, scholar athlete, Carson Hawk. Receiver, defensive back, James Hess. Receiver, defensive back, and scholar athlete award winner, Tate Coleman. Receiver, defensive back, scholar athlete, Ben Levy. Receiver, defensive back, Wyatt Mars. Also a scholar athlete. Defensive back, receiver, Alex Millett. Defensive lineman, scholar athlete, Bryce Phillips. Yeah, Thelma. Good job. All right. Got it rolling. Okay, very good. All right, now at this time, before we get into the varsity letters, we'll take a moment here and have Mrs. Smith come up with her group and introduce her girls. Now, I know she's going to talk more about them, but I'm going to tell you what, these guys, they have graduated from just, setting up a water station here and there to, they now film our practices. They now do tons of things and take on huge amounts of responsibility, and we could not get this thing rolling without those guys, because probably the key thing for us is filming everything at practice. And there's cameras all over the place, and we're able to immediately go in after practice and evaluate things and not have to sit back and say, well, by tomorrow you're going to forget about what you did, you're going to move on to other stuff. So we can get in that room and get things organized and get them rocking. And these girls do a tremendous job, as does Katie, coordinate our doctors, Dr. Burkhart and Dr. Luna. So let's bring Katie Smith up, big round of applause.